Have you ever felt like you're standing in a room full of people, yet no one truly sees you? You could be speaking, smiling, even trying to contribute, but it's as if you're made of glass present, but unseen. Maybe you've worked hard, done everything right, played by the rules, and still found yourself overlooked. It's strange, isn't it? Sometimes the louder you try to be, the more the world seems to turn its head away. The truth is, real power doesn't always come from being the loudest voice in the room or the one demanding constant attention. Often, it comes from something far quieter, something almost invisible, yet impossible to ignore when it finally emerges. People imagine power as a spotlight, a constant beam of attention shining on those who have it. But history tells a different story. The most influential figures, the ones whose actions have shaped nations and ideas, rarely lived in that spotlight all the time. They moved in shadows, watched carefully, waited patiently, and acted only when the moment was right. Their moves were not rushed, and when they finally struck, it was with precision so sharp that the world had no choice but to notice. Machiavelli, one of history's keenest observers of politics and human nature, believed that you do not need to be seen at all times to hold power. In fact, he argued that sometimes disappearing from the noise is exactly how you prepare to return stronger. The silence is not weakness. It is a forge. Socrates understood this too. He didn't demand attention in the busy streets of Athens. He didn't shout to be heard. Instead, he asked questions, small, deliberate questions that pierced through the illusions people held about themselves and the world. His method was quiet but transformative, reshaping the minds of those who engaged with him. Carl Jung, centuries later, would call this the strength of the inner world, the place where your thoughts, convictions, and self-understanding are forged. Power built on constant display is fragile, but power rooted in deep self-awareness is unshakable. We live in an age where people are afraid to disappear. Everyone wants to be visible, to be posting, speaking, updating, showing proof that they are relevant. But this constant exposure drains the mystery, and mystery is part of influence. When people cannot predict your every move, when they are not sure what you are thinking or preparing, you gain an advantage. The Roman generals knew this well. They would let their enemies underestimate them, appearing passive, even weak, until the perfect moment came to advance. And when they moved, it was with such sudden force that no one had time to resist. To live like this requires patience, and patience is rare. It means being willing to be overlooked in the short term so that you can dominate in the long term. It means resisting the urge to react to every insult or invitation to prove yourself. Machiavelli would say, "Never fight battles you have not chosen." Every action should be part of a larger design, and every silence should serve a purpose. Even your absence can be a kind of presence, if it is intentional. The modern mind struggles with this idea because we are trained to see silence as failure, stillness as falling behind. But in reality, stillness is preparation. The seed is invisible under the soil for a long time before it breaks through the surface. No one applauds it while it grows in darkness, but without that hidden phase, the flower never blooms. You must learn to value your own hidden phases. The world may not see you now, but that doesn't mean you are not becoming something powerful. Carl Jung would say that the self has many layers, and most people only live on the surface. They chase approval, they mirror the crowd, they become exactly what others expect. But the deeper self, the one that carries your unique potential, cannot emerge under the constant gaze of others. It needs solitude, struggle, and reflection. It needs time away from the noise so it can take shape without interference. This is why some of the most impactful people in history seem to appear suddenly, as if from nowhere. In truth, they had been preparing for years, unseen. Disappearing is not the same as giving up. It is choosing your battleground. It is conserving your strength. It is deciding that your value does not depend on constant applause. Think of Napoleon, who often planned in total secrecy, revealing his strategy only when it was too late for his enemies to counter it. Think of artists who vanish between works, returning only when they have something undeniable to share. The absence creates anticipation, and anticipation magnifies impact. If you want to be truly seen, you must first be willing to be unseen. You must be comfortable with people misunderstanding you, underestimating you, even forgetting you for a while, because when you return on your terms, it will not be as the same person they last saw. You will return sharper, stronger, and more certain of your direction. And when that happens, they won't just see you, they will feel your presence. That is the difference between chasing attention and commanding it. One is noise. The other is power. Most people rush to fill silence. They can't stand the discomfort of not being noticed, so they try harder, posting more, talking more, chasing more validation. But that urgency is exactly what makes them predictable. You cannot surprise someone who always knows where you stand. And in life, surprise is one of your greatest weapons. When you hold back, when you keep certain moves to yourself, you create a kind of tension. Others start to wonder what you're thinking, what you're planning, whether you're preparing something bigger than they realize. This uncertainty shifts the balance of power in your favor without you lifting a finger. The ancient Chinese strategist Sun Tzu wrote that all warfare is based on deception. But most people misunderstand this. Deception is not always about lying, it's often about withholding. It's about letting others believe you are less prepared, less capable, or less ambitious than you truly are. And when the time comes, the truth becomes a weapon. The people who ignored you will be caught off guard. The ones who underestimated you will find they've given you more space to grow than they should have. Carl Jung believed that the shadow, the parts of ourselves we keep hidden holds enormous power. Not because secrecy in itself is magical, but because what we hide often carries our deepest potential. The danger is when we hide these parts from ourselves too. The work of power begins internally, facing what you've buried, acknowledging your weaknesses without fear, and accepting the parts of you that others might misunderstand. This kind of inner confrontation builds a presence that doesn't need constant performance to be felt. Think of the myth's heroes who vanish into the wilderness, kings who retreat from the throne, warriors who disappear after a great victory. In stories, these disappearances are not endings. They are transformations. The hero returns with new strength, the king with deeper wisdom, the warrior with sharper skills. The absence was the crucible. Without it, the return would mean nothing. This is why you should never fear going unseen for a season. It may be the most important chapter of your life, but disappearing wisely means doing it with intent. It's not about running away from the world because it's too hard or because people didn't notice you fast enough. It's about choosing to step back so you can build something the world cannot ignore when it finally emerges. Machiavelli warned that visibility without preparation is dangerous. It invites attack before you are ready. To be untouchable, you must be untraceable until the moment you decide otherwise. In the modern age, disappearing feels like rebellion. Everyone else is rushing to keep up, terrified of falling behind, while you quietly step out of the race. You aren't playing their game, so their rules no longer apply. You start building in silence your skills, your network, your plans, while the noise passes you by. And then, when you reappear, it's not just as another participant in the crowd. It's as someone they didn't see coming, someone who commands attention simply by existing. Power like this doesn't roar, it resonates. People will notice without you asking them to. They will feel a shift when you walk into a room, not because you announced yourself, but because your presence is the result of years of unseen work. This is the kind of recognition that lasts, because it's not based on trends or constant display. It's based on depth, mystery, and timing. And that combination is impossible to fake. They don't see you because they're not looking for you. Most people only recognize value when it's already shining in front of them, obvious and undeniable. Until then, you're just background noise in their lives, a faint blur in the corner of their vision. This isn't because you're worthless or forgettable. It's because human nature is wired to notice what already appears important. People gravitate toward those who already have the signals of power, influence, or success. And until you carry those signals, most of the world simply doesn't care. It's not personal, it's instinct. You could be brilliant. You could be full of ideas that could change the game. But if you present them too early, before the world is ready to listen, they'll be dismissed as nothing special. Machiavelli understood this cruel reality. He knew that power often lies in perception, and perception takes careful shaping. The truth is that influence works backward. You don't get noticed and then become powerful. You become powerful in private, and then you get noticed. The problem is, most people are desperate to be acknowledged before they've truly built themselves. They post their every thought online. They talk about their plans before they've taken the first real step. They want applause before the work is even done. And because of that, they burn their mystery too soon. The audience gets bored before the real performance begins. You've probably seen it happen. Someone announces a big project, talks endlessly about what they're going to do, but months later, nothing happens. They didn't understand that the more you talk, the more you drain the energy that should be going into the doing. Silence, on the other hand, works like pressure inside a sealed container. It builds. People start to notice your absence. They wonder what you're working on. They get curious, and curiosity is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. We can ignore noise forever, but silence makes us lean in. Think of the most powerful moments in music. They're not always the loudest notes, but the pauses before them. The silence that makes the sound hit harder. When it finally comes, Jung would say that part of your invisibility is tied to the shadow you haven't yet embraced. The version of yourself that's capable of commanding attention already exists, but it's buried under layers of self-doubt, habits of playing small, and fear of what might happen if you fully step into who you could be. If you've spent years as the quiet one, the overlooked one, the safe one, then becoming impossible to ignore will feel unnatural at first. That's why disappearing to rebuild yourself is so powerful. It gives you the space to rewire your identity without the constant eyes and judgments of the crowd. When you retreat with purpose, something shifts inside you. You stop living reactively, chasing whatever comes your way, and you start shaping your own trajectory. You read in silence. You train your skills without announcing them. You study the moves of those who came before you. You watch the patterns of people who hold influence, not to copy them, but to understand what makes them magnetic. You stop wasting energy on being seen for the wrong reasons, and instead invest it in becoming someone worth seeing. History remembers those who emerge from the shadows with impact. Take Julius Caesar. He didn't just march into Rome expecting the Senate to hand him power. He built alliances in silence, won loyalty through small but calculated moves, and only crossed the Rubicon when the timing made victory possible. Napoleon didn't become a legend by telling everyone what he planned to do. He studied, learned, and waited until he could strike with precision. Even in art, Van Gogh painted in obscurity, selling almost nothing in his lifetime, yet his private work became immortal because the depth was there, even when no one was looking. The danger is in misunderstanding the silence. Some disappear because they've given up, and that's not the same thing. Disappearing without intention is just hiding. It changes nothing. The kind of disappearance that leads to power is strategic. Every day in the shadows is used to sharpen. The sword, every hour is used to build leverage. And leverage is the real currency of influence. It's not enough to be talented. You have to have something people need, something they can't easily get elsewhere. That's when you stop chasing attention, and attention starts chasing you. There's a strange freedom in knowing you're invisible right now. It means you have the space to make mistakes in private, to experiment without public embarrassment, to learn at your own pace. When no one's watching, you're not under pressure to be perfect. You can focus on being ready. And readiness is what turns the moment you step forward into something unforgettable. You won't have to beg for recognition. It will come as a natural reaction to the weight of what you've become. The people who once overlooked you will act as if they've always known you were destined for more. They'll rewrite their memory of you, saying they always saw your potential. But you'll know the truth. They didn't see you until you made it impossible not to. And the irony is, the years they ignored you were the years you needed the most. They gave you the gift of working in peace, without interference, without the shallow distractions that come with premature attention. This is why, if you feel invisible, right now, you shouldn't see it as a curse. It's an opening. It's the space before the storm. Use it. Because once the storm arrives, once you step into the light, you won't get this time back. When you're in the spotlight, every move is judged. Every word is dissected. Every mistake is amplified. The shadows may feel lonely now, but they are a rare and powerful shelter for transformation. And here's the part no one tells you. Once you've built yourself in silence, you don't need to fight for recognition anymore. Recognition becomes a byproduct. Your work, your presence, your results, these things will speak in a way words never could. You'll walk into a room and conversations will pause, not because you've demanded attention, but because your very being carries the weight of someone who has done the work. Someone who doesn't need to prove themselves anymore. Someone who can choose to speak or remain silent, knowing both will have impact. In the end, it's not really about being noticed. It's about becoming the kind of person whose value is undeniable. And that process can't be rushed. It can't be forced. It can only be forged in the slow, often unseen grind of building in the dark. So if they don't see you now, let them look away. Let them think you're nothing special. One day, they'll realize you've been building an empire behind their backs. And by the time they notice, it will already be too late for them to catch up. You see, power isn't something you stumble upon by accident. It's something you build, piece by piece, often when no one is watching. The moments you spend in quiet reflection, in hard and thankless work, in choosing discipline over distraction, these are the bricks of your foundation. And though the world may not applaud you now, that silence is not a curse. It is a gift, a shield, a proving ground. Most people want the world to see them before they're ready. They want recognition now, even if it's only for an unfinished version of themselves. But what they don't realize is that attention is not the same as respect. You can gain attention in a moment, but respect requires a journey. And the people who truly hold influence in this world, they can sense the difference. They know when someone has put in the years, when their strength has been forged in something deeper than just visibility. So let this season of invisibility shape you. Let it sharpen your mind and thicken your skin. Let it teach you patience. In a culture obsessed with speed, because when you finally step forward, you will not just be another face in the crowd. You will be the storm they never saw coming. And when that day comes, you will realize something powerful, that the time you spent away from the noise was not time lost. It was time invested. You were writing your own script on your own terms, without asking for permission or applause. You were building a life that is yours in every sense of the word. If you've listened this far, it means a part of you already knows this. It means you felt that frustration of being overlooked, but you've also felt that fire to rise above it. That's the part of you I'm speaking to, the part that refuses to settle for mediocrity, that refuses to let the world decide your value. And if that's you, then your next step is clear. Stay close to this kind of thinking. Surround yourself with ideas, lessons, and strategies that keep your vision sharp and your resolve unshakable. That's why I create these messages, not for the masses, but for the few who are willing to think differently, who are willing to play the long game. If you want more of this, then make sure you're here for the next chapter. Subscribe, follow, whatever this platform calls it, because these ideas will keep coming, and you won't want to miss the ones that could change everything for you. But don't just watch. Apply. Take one thought from today and put it into practice. Maybe it's stepping back from the noise for a week. Maybe it's working in silence on a skill you've neglected. Maybe it's simply reminding yourself that being unseen today does not mean being unworthy. It means being in the middle of your preparation. Whatever it is, start now, because the truth is, your moment will come. It might not look like what you expect. It might not happen on the timeline you've imagined. But if you keep building, keep learning, keep positioning yourself quietly and strategically, that moment will arrive. And when it does, you'll be ready to claim it. So take this as your reminder. You don't need to chase validation. You don't need to prove yourself to everyone every day. You only need to prove yourself to one person, your future self, the one who will look back and thank you for not giving up when no one was watching. I'll leave you with this. Don't fear the shadows. Some of the strongest seeds grow in darkness before they ever touch the light. Your time in the dark is not the end of your story. It's the part that makes the ending worth telling. Now go build, quietly, relentlessly, until the day comes when you no longer need to introduce yourself, because your presence will speak for you.